Good evening. I'm Yamisha Sender coming to you from the NBC News Bureau in Washington, D.C. And here are some of the stories we're following now tonight. 5 Memphis police officers have been charged with murder in the death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols. The case has prompted federal prosecutors to get involved.
This federal civil rights investigation will be thorough, it will be methodical, and it will continue until we gather all the relevant facts.
January becomes California's deadliest month for mass shootings in a decade. It only took 26 days. It was seen as the most bold machine to take flight. Now it's been 20 years since Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated. During re-entry, we take a look back. And an FDA panel meets to chart a course for what's next for COVID vaccines. We begin tonight in Memphis, where all 5 police officers linked to the death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols have been charged and arrested. They've been charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. According to Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy, each of the officers involved played a role in Nichols' death.
While each of the 5 individuals played a different role in the incident in question, the actions of all of them resulted in the death of Tyree Nichols, and they are all responsible.
Earlier this month, Nichols died just 3 days after a traffic stop. Police said he was driving recklessly and that a confrontation ensued when they tried to detain him. Attorneys for 2 of the indicted police officers spoke to reporters earlier. They said their clients plan to plead not guilty. Requests for comment from the other 3 officers have not been answered. Joining us now, thank you so much, Priscilla, for being here. So what else did we learn today?
Yeah, so we learned that all 5 of those officers had been indicted and turned themselves in. They have since bonded out. But we also learned a bit more about those charges. The district attorney ticking through all of those various charges that those officers now face and making that very strong comment that you just mentioned, that all 5 of these officers played some contributing role in the death of Tyree Nichols, many of them not performing their duty as an internal investigation by the police department had already found, including the duty to intervene and the duty to render aid. And we also heard the leader of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations saying that in no way was this proper policing, that this was a crime, and that those charges are accurate for what people will see in the video. There's also a lot that we didn't learn from this press conference, though. Officials not really going into detail about the events of that night and what exactly happened there, sort of the play-by-play of what happened and how all of this went the way that it did. What we did hear them say is that when that video is released, the public will see for themselves why some of these charges are listed as they are. Yamish?
And Priscilla, I mean, things there are moving quickly. As someone who's covered a lot of unfortunate police incidents where someone died, things are moving at lightning speed there. That being said, as you said, there are a lot of unanswered questions about what happened. Let's listen to how the family and attorney described the body camera footage.
He was a human piñata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed, nonstop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes.
Oh my God. I watched about a minute of it, but I couldn't. Once I heard my son say, "What did I do?" I lost it, and I couldn't.
No father, mother should have to witness what I saw today.
I mean, Priscilla, this is just heartbreaking to listen to this mother and this father talk about this. When do we know about when this body camera footage will be released to the public?
Yeah, well, Yamiche, it is incredibly heartbreaking. I spoke with Tyre Nichols' parents, and his father told me that the last thing he heard his son say on that tape was a call for his mother. And so this is sure to be incredibly heartbreaking when it is released. The district attorney says that the city does intend to release this video tomorrow evening. Already, we're seeing a heightened police presence here in downtown Memphis. We also heard the police chief come out and release a video statement saying that people have every right to exercise their right to protest. And she is sure that when people see this video, they will be outraged and they will want to exercise those rights, but asking that people do that peacefully and keep this city safe. We also received a statement from President Biden today echoing that statement, saying that, yes, there will be outrage, but that does not mean that there should be violence. And we know that cities across the country are bracing for what could happen here, particularly cities like Minneapolis, who are waiting to see if there are going to be protests that will break out in other cities across the country as a result of this video. We have heard the attorneys of the family describe this as reminiscent of the Rodney King beating in the early 90s. And we remember sort of the outcry and the anger out of all of that. And we're seeing a lot of that same anger here today. But officials certainly trying to get ahead of that by releasing these charges and arresting those officers. Yamiche?
There's certainly a lot of anxiety as we all around the country really brace for this body camera footage. I also want to ask you, though, that we heard from the defense attorneys today. What did they say?
Yeah, they said that their clients did not intend for this to happen. They're obviously not happy to see this happen. In fact, they said that many of their clients are in shock that all of this has happened. And they say that they are still getting to know their clients, learning more information about this, going through the process of discovery as they work to put together a defense as this case likely heads to a potential trial here. And I will say that we're also hearing from the family in the wake of all of this coming out today. The family saying that they are relieved to see that these officers have been charged with murder, but also saying that they are hopeful that these officers will be held accountable. So certainly something that they want to see and that they believe will happen in this case. Yamiche?
A tough case to cover among so many other tough cases that we've had to cover in the years as we think about policing and, frankly, black people in this country. So thank you, Priscilla, for doing the work down there. As gun violence tears apart communities in California, the president and first lady worked to mend shattered hearts. Tonight, they hosted the first ever Lunar New Year celebration at the White House.
Today, as we are meant to celebrate, our joy has been shattered by two horrifying mass shootings this week. And our prayers are with the family of those lost in Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay. And we grieve with broken hearts alongside every member of this community.
These are tight-knit communities, as you all know. They'll be affected by what they saw and what they lost for the rest of their lives. We got to think about the impacts of post-traumatic stress on many of these folks. And as a nation, we have to be there with them.
With those sentiments came calls for more gun control legislation. Vice President Kamala Harris called for Congress to act last night at the memorial in Monterey Park, California. And today, so did Democratic senators.
I want to be clear. It is Republicans in Congress who continue to value gun industry profits over people. And so Leader Schumer is right to call out the companies that are not just peddling weapons of war, but shamelessly pushing these weapons of war on our children.
A top Republican in the Senate poured cold water on the idea of more gun legislation. Texas Senator John Cornyn told NBC News, quote, "I think we did everything we could do with the votes available last summer, so I don't see that happening anytime soon." While bipartisan back and forth on gun law swirls in Washington, the Mercury News in California points out a frightening statistic for the state. There have been 5 mass shootings this year. 27 people have died and 20 have been hurt. That means January 2023, this year, is the state's deadliest for mass shootings in the past decade. The community of Half Moon Bay, California might have just gotten answers to some of the biggest questions around the mass shooting. NBC's affiliate in the Bay Area got an exclusive jailhouse interview with the suspect. Reporter Janelle Wang spoke to the alleged gunman for 15 minutes in Mandarin, and he had admitted to committing the shootings. This comes just days after the suspect was arraigned in a county courtroom. He is charged with 7 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. And joining us now from Redwood City, California, is NBC News correspondent Nyela Charles. So, Nyela, tell us more about this exclusive jailhouse interview with the suspect. What more did we learn about a potential motive?
In that interview with NBC Bay Area, the defendant says for years he was overworked and bullied at work, and says that he brought those concerns up, but they weren't addressed. We did reach out to one of the farms he worked at, California Terra Garden, their spokesperson, saying they have no record of any complaints or concerns on bullying raised to senior management. Also in that interview, the defendant says he wasn't in his right mind during the shooting and says he's had mental health issues. Yamish?
And Nyela, it's also clear now that family and friends of the victims are starting to really speak out about this tragedy. What are people saying?
Family and friends describe those victims as loving and extremely hardworking. They have a really tight community there on the farm. The employees, the victims, lived and worked there. Some of them immigrants, many of them leaving their respective countries to work here so that they could really just financially support their families. We did speak to family and friends of one of the victims, Marciano Martinez Jimenez, and they tell us that they love him and miss him. Listen to what they had to say.
I remember as early as I could choose who could be my godfather. I chose him every single time for every single occasion. He was actually the first person to buy me a gaming console because back then we didn't have enough money to afford one.
They need more help, like every day. Like somebody to stand up for them, like speak out, like, you know, we're here for you.
Victim services at both the local and federal level tell us they're providing support to the victims' families in the ways of financial support and also housing and mental health services. And we've seen an outpouring of support from across the country of donations coming in. Yamish?
It's touching to hear that this community is getting support when you can see that people are definitely still reeling from this. And with that said, what do we think is next in this case?
Well, the arraignment for the defendant is set for mid-February, at which point he will be formally charged. We expect him to enter a plea. Yamish?
Well, thank you so much, Nyela Charles. A U.S. military operation in Northern Somalia killed a senior leader of ISIS along with 10 other fighters. The operation took place on Wednesday night. Officials described Bilal al-Sudani as a key operative and facilitator of the terror group's global network. The officials said no civilians were wounded or killed. In a statement, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said Sudani, quote, was responsible for fostering the growing presence of ISIS in Africa and for funding the group's operations worldwide, including in Afghanistan. NBC News Pentagon correspondent Courtney Cubey joins me now. So, Courtney, what do we know about this operation, how it came together, and, of course, how long it was in the works?
We know very little about what actually happened on the ground there in the mountains in northern Somalia. But what we do know is that the intelligence on this was gathered for months. We heard from a senior administration official who said that, in fact, over the course of several months, they continued to get updates on Bilal al-Sudani and his whereabouts in Somalia. The U.S. military also trained for this for some time. And in fact, the way that the senior administration officials were describing this today, it reminded me of the extensive training that went into other large operations, like the one that ended in the death of Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. But we know very little about the size of the team, the makeup, or what exactly happened on the ground, with the exception of the fact that one of the senior administration officials who spoke with us today said that there was an effort to try to capture him, but when they got there, he and these other ISIS associates who he was there with, it became very heated and he was killed in some sort of part of this operation. We don't know if that was gunfire, explosions, or what. Those are some of the details that we're still trying to gather, Yamish.
And Courtney, as you mentioned, other people, what else do we know about the other fighters? 10 of them, it sounds like, that were killed.
Very little, unfortunately. It's another thing. We know that Bilal al-Sudani associated with a number of other relatively mid-level or even senior-level ISIS fighters in that region. We know that because the Department of the Treasury has actually identified some of them who all work together. He was focused in his final days, according to the Biden administration, he was focused on not only ISIS operations there in Somalia, but in the region, and then as far away as the ISIS affiliate, ISIS Khorasan in Afghanistan. He both helped facilitate some of their operations, and he was even known in some cases to help with their finances. So it's unclear whether there may have been other more senior ISIS leaders or if it was just other ISIS fighters who were there. Again, another detail that we're still trying to work out. What's pretty significant here is if these were, Bilal al-Sudani plus 10 other ISIS associates, that's a relatively large gathering, a relatively large group there. So it'll be interesting to find out if they're able to identify some of the other people who were there.
Well, a reminder, really, about that the fight is continuing when it comes to the fight against terrorism. Thank you so much, Courtney Cuby. Still to come, some big medical headlines we're watching tonight, including a new study that shows a sharp rise in autism cases. But are doctors getting just better at diagnosing it? Plus, the FDA is pushing to simplify the COVID vaccine process. What you need to know before rolling up your sleeves. In some parts of the country, autism rates have tripled. That's where we begin our health headlines tonight. A study published today in the Journal of Pediatrics shows that autism rates in the New York and New Jersey metropolitan area have increased threefold from 2000 to 2016. Researchers see a similar trend nationally, according to a 2021 CDC report. What seems to be driving the increase? It appears doctors are getting better at diagnosing autism. And black people are almost 4 times as likely to be diagnosed with kidney failure than white people. An outdated test to measure kidney function may be to blame. The test seems to overestimate kidney function in black patients, which camouflages the severity of their kidney disease, which leads to late diagnosis and delayed transplant referrals. To help solve this inequity, the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network Board is adjusting wait times for black patients and black transplant candidates. And scientists out of Virginia say they have the capabilities to make the world's first bionic nose. True researchers at the Virginia Commonwealth University of Medicine, well, they say they will use computer processing and artificial intelligence to do it. But it might take a while to stop and smell the roses, as a prototype is still 5 to 10 years away. And today, an FDA advisory panel unanimously voted to end the 2-shot primary series in favor of 1-shot updated formula now used for boosters. The idea here is to make all COVID shots current and to make them less complicated and less confusing, which could simplify the COVID vaccine schedule, perhaps making it an annual shot like the flu shot. Dr. Kavita Patel is an NBC News and MSNBC medical contributor, and she joins me now. So let's start. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start with the vote today. What are your key takeaways?
Yeah, Yamiche, this was unanimous. People really want to harmonize or really just make this easier to administer. In my office, we have to constantly figure out, did you get the primary series? Okay, did you get the booster? Was it the updated booster? This conversation really seals that the United States wants to move to a more predictable vaccine. Maybe, as you mentioned, annually. The other takeaway for me, I've been looking and listening to the safety data very carefully. I've seen patients that have had some of those myocarditis episodes, inflammation of the heart, very rare. So I was interested in listening to this potential safety signal about a stroke in older patients. And really, the data presented shows that overwhelmingly, it does not look like stroke is associated with vaccines, but they will continue to follow and monitor as we keep vaccinating people.
And as you said, there is a lot of confusion out there, but tell me a bit more about this new vaccine. What are we learning about its effectiveness? If there are any possible side effects?
Yeah, so this has also been something that we've been looking for. We have been waiting for kind of the randomized trial, if you will, of looking at what happens with people who get the updated booster versus those who don't. And sure enough, we had to get that data from Moderna out of the United Kingdom. They used a different type of Omicron variant in order to actually make their bivalent, but they had a bivalent booster, and they demonstrated not just robust effectiveness, meaning it really did protect against symptomatic infection, hospitalization, and death above kind of not having an updated booster, But it also sent some signals that it could be protective in children as well against symptomatic infection. So all in all, it was reassuring that if you're going to get a shot, be updated bivalent, bi meaning that it's trained to deal with the latest strain, the BA or the Omicron strain, as well as the original Wuhan strain. And that's the right way to go.
And a quick follow-up, just tell me, if you're already vaccinated and boosted, what does that mean? Should you be getting this news vaccine? For people who are watching this saying, what does this mean for me?
Right. Bottom line, I hate to say it, this was an advisory committee, Yamiche. There is nothing that is going to change about the questions I asked, about which boosters and which shots you got, and what you can get if you go to your retail pharmacy or doctor, because the FDA just has to listen to the advisory committee. They have to work with the manufacturers to make these changes. I do think they'll do this quickly, but what this means is that anywhere you go in the United States in the near future, at least for adults, we will start to see really just that bivalent offered, no matter whether or not you had that primary series. Big shift. And a lot of people today use the word endemic. Haven't heard that used by an advisory committee in a long time. So it does signal that we're starting to kind of live with COVID. It is going to cause more deaths than the flu. So it is not in the same category as the flu, but we want to make it predictable like the flu vaccine.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, so many questions. It's so great to have you on. Thank you so much, Dr. Patel.
Thank you.
Tens of thousands of people are still without power tonight after that powerful storm system unleashed everything from tornadoes to snow in various parts of the country. You can see that horrific tornado damage in Texas. Roofs were blown off. Entire homes were destroyed. Authorities are working around the clock to restore power to thousands of people in Arkansas, Texas, Missouri, and California. And more extreme weather is on the way. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins me now. So, Bill, there are, of course, a lot of places in this country still recovering from that extreme weather. What more is on the horizon here?
Yeah, I mean, everyone always wants to know what's next, right? Especially when you're in the heart of winter where you know you're going to have kind of one storm after another. But looking at this last storm, I mean, who would have guessed that one of the hardest hit areas and the heaviest snow was in Arkansas, of all places? In northern Arkansas and the Ozarks, numerous locations had 12 to 18 inches of heavy, wet snow. And that's why we had a lot of power outages in northern Arkansas. And that's why it's taking a while to get the power back on. Just look at the size of some of those snowflakes. So let's get into our next storm. So this was going to be actually a two-parter. There's going to be a weak storm tomorrow and then another one over the weekend. That's why our watches and warnings are kind of all over the place. But this gets your attention from Fargo northwards. That's a blizzard warning for tomorrow. High winds, cold temperatures, and blowing snow is going to come in. And then our weekend storm, already winter storm warnings are up for many areas of the northern Rockies. So let me kind of take you through it. So our first storm, the one tomorrow, this is going to bring just some light snow to the Great Lakes. This is what we call a clipper storm. Doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, but it will bring some gusty winds and it will bring some much colder temperatures. So now let me take you to Storm 2. That's the one that's dipping down there south of Billings. All the blue on the map is snow. So it looks like on Friday night, snow in the northern Rockies. Then on Saturday, that snow begins to move through the plains. It's a narrow area. It's not a lot of snow, but it's going to go through areas of Iowa, possibly near Omaha, Des Moines, Ames, the Quad Cities, into Chicago by Saturday night. And this will be cold enough that it will be sticking, so the roads will be slick in many areas. And then this storm, it kind of breaks into two pieces, and we're going to see a big rain event taking shape over the weekend. We do have a chance even some flash flooding. These are the same locations that were just dodging tornadoes 2 days ago, but from areas of Louisiana to Mississippi, we do have to watch out on Sunday. It's going to be a rain out for you, unfortunately, with isolated flash flooding. Notice it's too warm on the East Coast for any snow, so we're again going to go snowless in areas from Raleigh, Richmond, Washington, D.C., Philly, and New York. So here's our snow forecast through Sunday. You notice some of those higher totals there in pink. That's at least 6 to 8 inches. All of the northern Rockies are going to get it, along with a lot of the ski resorts. And there's that narrow band of snow. Chicago looks like around possibly 2 to 3 inches for you Saturday. Saturday night into areas of Michigan. Detroit's going to get more snow, along with Erie to Buffalo. And there's that big miss into areas of southern New England. And as far as the rainfall forecast is going to go, it does look like the heaviest rainfall, again, is going to be in areas of the deep south. So the weekend forecast, sunny and cool in the south. That rain develops on Saturday, and then finally that big rain event will be happening on Sunday in the southeast. Yamiche.
Well, Bill, there's a blizzard warning, lots of snow, lots of rain. Definitely learned a lot there with you, so thank you so much, Bill. After the break, more of the top stories we're following this hour, including the FBI shutting down a cyber criminal hacker group responsible for extorting millions from schools and hospitals. Plus, a closer look at Snapchat's role in the fentanyl crisis, why critics say social media companies need to be held accountable. It's time now for some of the big headlines we're watching tonight. The double murder trial of Alec Murdaugh continued today with some graphic new evidence. The jury got a first look at the body cam video from officers arriving at the crime scene. They were also played the chilling 911 call made by Murdaugh the night his wife and son were killed. Prosecutors argue he was faking shock and grief. More than 70 Democrats are criticizing President Biden in a new letter, calling him out over his policies restricting asylum access for migrants crossing the southern border. The letter, signed by Senator Cory Booker and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, encouraged the administration to, quote, restore and protect the rights of asylum seekers and refugees. And Representative Adam Schiff is running for Senate. The California congressman declared his bid today, joining what's already looking like a crowded Democratic primary. Schiff is after Senator Dianne Feinstein's seat, and so are fellow Congresswomen Katie Porter and Barbara Lee. Feinstein is expected to retire after her current term, but has yet to make a formal announcement. The FBI is investigating fentanyl sales happening on Snapchat. That's according to a source directly familiar with the matter. Critics say Snapchat knows drug dealers are using the app to sell pills to teens. Now, agents are interviewing families who have lost kids this way. The Justice Department says it can neither confirm nor deny a criminal investigation. And Southwest Airlines is reporting a $220 million loss last quarter over the holiday meltdown. The airline says it canceled over 16,000 flights between December 21st and December 31st. Earlier today, NBC's Lester Holt sat down with the CEO, Bob Jordan.
I think what people wonder when they book with you now, will you be able to fulfill the obligation? What does it look like? Could this happen again?
Well, we'll do everything short-term, now, immediate, long-term to make sure that this does not happen again. We've already put things in place like an extraordinary level of monitoring in our network operational center. We've spun up a group of about 100 extra crew schedulers that we can use on demand. We're looking at our de-icing procedures top to bottom. We're buying extra engine covers in case of tremendously cold weather.
We have some breaking news tonight. Crews are battling a large fire in Los Angeles' Koreatown neighborhood. These are images from our affiliate KNBC. It appears the fire began in the attic of this apartment building. Everyone inside was evacuated. You can see firefighters on the roof working to get control of the flames. Several streets are closed in the area. No word yet on the cause. And you may find it hard to believe, but despite rising interest rates, nagging inflation, and fears of a looming recession, the economy actually grew last year. Confused? Well, I'll explain. According to new numbers from the Commerce Department's advance report, GDP rose 2.9% at the last quarter of 2022, prompting President Biden to take some credit.
I'm not sure, and I mean it sincerely, the news could have been any better. I don't think it's unfair to say that this is all evidence that the Biden economic plan, because y'all, is actually working.
Now, this is just slightly down from the third quarter, and it's just slightly above GDP predictions and brings the total economic growth in 2022 to about 2.1%. Economists say that's respectable and pretty on par with the historical average. But just because the economy is growing doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. So joining us now is an editor-in-chief at Investopedia, Caleb Silver. So, Caleb, the U.S. is almost back to pre-pandemic GDP numbers. That dotted line shows it where it was supposed to be, expected to be, according to government economists. And the green line shows what we're actually seeing right now. What does the report actually mean for the state of our economy? What's going on here?
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold. A little like a Goldilocks report, which actually is welcome news, because what those charts don't show is the pandemic and what happened to our economy. When you shut it down on a dime like that and you flip it back on, it takes a while. And then what? We had an outpouring of demand, which drove inflation. We also had issues with oil, Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So you had rapid inflation, you had rapid hiring, you had rapid growth in 2021 and the first part of 2022, and then it evaporated a little bit. So we're getting back to normalization and price stabilization. And that's what we want in an economy, and that's what the Federal Reserve wants to see as well.
I also want to ask you, as you mentioned the Federal Reserve, it's expected to announce another rate hike increase. We're doing this, and why are they doing this, I should say? And I wonder if you could say whether or not possibly this could push us closer to a recession, which, of course, so many people are worried about.
Yeah, there will be another rate hike, and it will be next week, and it will probably be 0.25%. But remember, the Federal Reserve was hiking rates by 0.75% for several months throughout 2022. They slowed it a little bit to 0.5%, so they're continuing to hike interest rates. Now, why are they doing that? To bring down inflation. You have a choice in the economy, high inflation or high interest rates. High inflation hurts lower income folks the most. It is much more debilitating. So the Fed has been raising rates to bring it down. The problem, though, is that inflation is around 5.5% right now. The Fed wants it closer to 2%. That's normalization. So it's going to take a couple more small rate hikes to get us there. And will it push us into a recession? It just might. But when we look at the recessionary indicators, they're not all flashing warning signs right now. That's real personal income. That's employment and unemployment. That's the personal consumption expenditures index. Big report on that tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. That's basically consumer prices, and also wholesale retail sales and industrial production. Some are weaker than others, but we've never had a recession when unemployment was below 4%. It's at below 4% right now, although it may go up because we're hearing more and more firings coming out of the tech sector.
I mean, as you talk about employment and firings, I want to talk to you about layoffs, of course. We're seeing people get laid off across several industries, in media, in tech, so many different things. Just today, IBM announced they will lay off almost 4,000 employees. If the economy is growing, why are we seeing a wave of layoffs?
Yeah, you're seeing it especially in tech and in some media companies. Why? Because growth was so aggressive in 2021, they couldn't find enough workers, so they staffed up. Demand was very aggressive there as well, so they staffed up. A lot of these big companies, including IBM, but also including Meta, including Salesforce, some of the biggest companies out there have enormous workforces. They grew too fast, and now they don't have that demand. And that extra employees and the wage increases over the past year and a half are really hurting their profit margins, so they're slimming down their workforces. But it's mostly concentrated in tech. In the services part of the economy, you see a lot of job openings, and I'm talking about leisure and hospitality. I'm talking about government jobs. Healthcare has a lot of openings right now. Over 10 million job openings right now in that part of the economy. But over here in the tech sector, where the growth was so hot and is cooled, that's where you're seeing layoffs, and that should continue.
Well, it's definitely something that we'll keep watching. Thank you so much, Caleb. And they hacked the hackers. At least that's how the Department of Justice says the U.S. was able to disrupt a major cyber criminal group. It's one that extorted schools, hospitals, and critical infrastructure around the world. The group, known as Hive, has received about $100 million in extortion payments, and it's targeted more than 1,500 victims in the last year and a half. Ransomware groups are often spread out all over the world, but while Hive's core group spoke Russian, the DOJ's investigation brought them a little closer to home.
Our continued investigative efforts led us to 2 back-end computer servers located in Los Angeles that were used by Hive to store the network's critical information. Last night, pursuant to court order, we seized those servers.
Joining us now is Ken Delaney, Justice and Intelligence Correspondent for NBC News. So, Ken, thanks so much for being here. Let's listen more from Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco earlier today.
Simply put, using lawful means, we hacked the hackers. We turned the tables on Hive, and we busted their business model, saving potential victims approximately $130 million in ransomware payments.
So, Ken, who is Hive, what is Hive, and how did the U.S. hack the hackers?
Yamiche, Hive is a really destructive ransomware gang with links to Russia, and the FBI, in what I think is a first, infiltrated their networks back in July, got inside unbeknownst to the criminals, and began stealing the encryption keys so that when they launched some ransomware attacks against hospitals and other kinds of infrastructure, the FBI would give the victims the keys so they wouldn't have to pay the ransom. And they say that by doing that, they saved victims some $130 million in ransom. And then they got access, they learned where some of Hive's servers were, and they found a couple in Los Angeles. And last night, they seized those servers, shut the whole thing down, put them at least temporarily out of business. So they're portraying this as a big win for the FBI, really an unparalleled operation, striking down a ransomware gang that had attacked American hospitals, schools, really cost a lot of local governments a lot of money, Yamiche.
It sounds all so remarkable, but what happens now? Is there going to be charges filed? What happens?
They say the investigation is continuing, but they did not announce any arrests today, nor did they say that they seized any of the ill-gotten gains. So that's sort of the downside of all this. And the other thing that experts say is that, look, this ransomware gang will simply reconstitute their servers in another place. They're not completely out of business, but it does send a message that the FBI has ways to get to these operations, even when they're in Russia and they can't actually arrest the criminals, Yamiche.
And I wonder, of course, the U.S. has been fighting cybercrime. So I want to ask you a bit about the implications here. Where does this fall in the fight against cybercrime overall? Sort of what are the bigger consequences possibly here?
This is a big deal because ransomware is one of the most pernicious elements of cybercrime. It's one of the hardest to stop. It's not, something like an attack against critical infrastructure like a chemical plant or a transportation system that gets the attention of the whole country. It's these small pinprick attacks against hospitals, local governments, schools, and they end up just paying the money. The FBI found that only 20% of the victims, while they were inside, actually reported the ransomware to law enforcement. So a lot of this is happening under the radar, and the Justice Department views this as a real blow. They worked with the German government, German law enforcement on this. They worked with intelligence agencies. They're portraying this as a real advance in the fight against cybercrime, Yamiche.
Well, fascinating. NBC's Ken Delaney, thanks so much.
You bet.
If a picture is worth 8,000 words, it seems one bear in Colorado has a lot to say. Wildlife officials say a curious black bear appears to be an extrovert, snapping hundreds of selfies after triggering a motion sensor camera. Miguel Almaguer has the story.
People come to Boulder for its rugged beauty and breathtaking views, a picture-perfect landscape for a selfie, or perhaps a few hundred of them. Clearly not shy and maybe a little vain, it seems this black bear likes its angles, all of them.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
I haven't, but this bear definitely seemed very curious, a little bit playful perhaps.
Goofy, provocative, and even pensive, the enthusiastic photo shoot, some 400 selfies, triggered a range of reactions, headlines, and love online.
People are very excited about all of the bear images that we captured.
And the bear put in legwork for the headshots, finding one of 9 motion sensor cameras on 46,000 acres of open space wasn't easy. Hoping to snap birds, prairie dogs, and mountain lions, this bear barely left any room for photos of other curious critters.
People being aware of what's out there is very important, and being able to coexist.
To be fair, animal selfies aren't just monkey business. The most famous of them all ended up in a lawsuit over who owned the rights. And while we all love a good selfie, it turns out even a bear can be a camera hog. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
That is just hilarious. Thank you so much, Miguel Almaguer, for that report. And after the break, families torn apart, millions of innocent people murdered. No matter how many years pass by, the images of the Holocaust continue to haunt the world. When we come back, a look at one museum that is helping preserve the courageous stories of survivors. Nazi Germany murdered 6 million Jews and millions of other people during the Holocaust. Their history is preserved in part by those who survived. Less than 50,000 of them remain in the U.S., and their stories are especially important now when we're seeing a disturbing rise in anti-Semitism. Today, in a statement, President Biden said, quote, "Across our country, we are seeing swastikas on cars, anti-Semitic banners on bridges, verbal and physical attacks against Jewish businesses and Jewish Americans, even Holocaust denialism. It's vile. It goes against everything we value as Americans." Holocaust survivors will not live forever, but the Illinois Holocaust Museum is making sure their stories will. Through virtual reality and immersive storytelling on the eve of Holocaust Remembrance Day, NBC's Maura Barrett gives us a closer look at this new technology. And just a warning, some of what you're about to see may be disturbing.
I'm hoping the young people are going to grow up and be strong and not allow these kind of tragedies to happen again.
Fritzi was one of the millions of Jews persecuted during World War II. And despite passing in 2021, she continues to share her story with students every day in the Illinois Holocaust Museum's virtual reality exhibit. Opportunities to speak with living Holocaust survivors is dwindling as the population ages. It's estimated that less than 50,000 living survivors remain in the U.S.
And you mentioned the eating of clay. Clay. Well, we did too. It was a gray clay. Yes. I remember here. All I know is it filled you up.
The Illinois Holocaust Museum is working diligently with remaining survivors like George Brent and Gary Berkovich to preserve their stories through different educational avenues. These two survivors were as eager to learn about each other's journeys just as they were to share their own.
On May the 20th, 1944, we were the last vestige of Hungarian Jews that were deported and taken to concentration camps. The train stopped for a moment, and my father looked through the barbed wire window, and it says Auschwitz. I never heard of it. Today it's a household word. When I got off the train, I couldn't say goodbye to my mother and my brother. I saw them getting off the train, and that's the last I saw of them. Later on, I knew that all women who had small children and wouldn't give up the child, even though they were able to work, were immediately taken and gassed.
George and his father were forced to work at Auschwitz. He was then transported to various camps and managed to avoid selections. But despite that, George witnessed many atrocities, like abuse and starvation.
There was the famous or infamous camp called Mauthausen, an awful place. But they killed people by overwork them, by having to climb up those stairs, some 96 stairs, every day after day after day, carrying these huge 50-pound boulders on their backs. Most of the people who've been there in Auschwitz or Birkenau for a while looked emaciated. You could count their bones without them taking their clothes off.
My experience is very different from the George. He was not that lucky as I was, because I was born much later and I was in a different country.
Gary was born in Kharkiv, Ukraine in 1935, hundreds of miles away from George. When the war reached Gary, he and his family were forced to flee.
During that time, I experienced very horrible stuff. Our train was bombed.
He details his experience in Never Heard, Never Forget. The book puts a spotlight on Holocaust survivors from the former Soviet Union.
We were put in a teeny dugout, a hole in the ground slightly larger than the kitchen of our Kharkov apartment, and slightly deeper than the grandfather height.
And when his family moved to Turkestan, Gary says poverty was widespread amongst Jewish refugees, so much so that they starved to death.
So every morning I saw a picture like that. It was a two-wheel car. They were collecting dead bodies, put them in a cart, and went to nearby ravine, and they put them there in a massive grave. Imagine someone was 6.5, 7 years old, seeing all this. Sometimes when I do remember, I may cry.
Gary eventually returned back to Kharkiv a few years later and helped rebuild the city as an architect. His work, however, was damaged this past year because of the war.
It was in 1953 when I just started. I was 18 years old. And this picture shows this building just a couple of months ago after Russians shelled that building.
What's it like to see Kharkiv in the same state now as it was when you left when you were a kid?
Quite frankly, when I saw it first, I cried, because it was, everything was together was wrong. But
And this was your building?
Yeah.
Like Gary, George's story will also live forever through the museum's virtual reality exhibit.
Perhaps I should cry, but it's done so well, and it's so amazing that I am sitting there in awe to see myself on the screen and all the places that I've been to. I am not forever, but the film may be here forever, or for at least for a very, very long time.
Kelly Zaney is the museum's senior vice president of education and exhibitions. She says that this kind of immersive education is necessary, especially as anti-Semitic hate crimes rise across the U.S.
It helps us understand that the Holocaust is one of the most ultimate examples of man inhumanities to man, of what ultimately can happen if anti-Semitism is taken too far.
The museum's use of voice recognition technology with holograms like Fritzy's will allow visitors to interact with survivors for decades to come.
Fritzy, what do you want your legacy to be?
I'm hoping that there are lessons that are learned from Holocaust survivors and from the past. I am hoping that there will be a better world. I'm hoping that I'm leaving a good world for my grandchildren, your grandchildren, and all the young people that deserve to be raised in a good world.
Such critical reporting, such touching reporting. Thank you so much, Maura, for that. And next, to another day of remembrance. Those we've lost during space exploration. After the break, a look at the Columbia space disaster 2 decades later. Plus, a look towards a brighter future, how NASA has learned from these tragedies to take space discovery to the next level. NASA has its eyes set on the moon. Its Artemis program hopes to bring humans to the lunar surface by 2025. The agency says among those astronauts will be the first woman and the first person of color to set foot on the moon. It's a historic commitment for NASA, but those victories have come through costly mistakes. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Space Shuttle Columbia tragedy, and today NASA is pausing to remember their lives and the lives of all the other astronauts lost through space exploration in its annual tribute. NASA's Day of Remembrance honors the lives lost in pursuit of space exploration. But this year also marks the 20th anniversary of the 2003 Columbia Space Shuttle disaster. As the agency looks ahead to sending astronauts to the moon and Mars, NASA recognizes costly lessons learned along the way. Apollo 1 was supposed to be the first of several crewed flights NASA conducted in preparation for its first moon landing, but it never made it off the launch pad. On January 27, 1967, nearly a month before its planned launch, 3 crew members entered the Apollo control module for a launch countdown simulation that failed. As the crew sat inside debugging problems, an electrical fire broke out in the cockpit. As the astronauts struggled to open the hatch, the spacecraft ruptured. Roger Chaffee, Ed White, and Gus Grissom died before rescuers could get them out.
The important, immediate project for Space Administration officials will be to find out what happened. Then and only then will they be ready for the next big step, moving on toward manned flight in the Apollo spacecraft.
The tragedy ultimately uncovered major design flaws, like an abundance of flammable materials inside the spacecraft. The Apollo missions ended in 1975 after 6 successful moon landings. And in 1981, the shuttle program began to deliver crew and cargo to the International Space Station and service the Hubble telescope. Over the course of 135 missions, orbiters Columbia and Challenger suffered catastrophic accidents with the loss of all crew members. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger shuttle was set to embark on a 6-day mission. The 7-person crew included Krista McCullough, a New Hampshire teacher and the first American civilian to go to space. The launch day was unusually cold, and engineers warned that certain components were vulnerable to failure, but managers overruled them. Just before noon, Challenger took off. 73 seconds later, the space shuttle exploded. All 7 crew members died as millions watched the tragedy unfold on live TV.
The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us for the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them.
It was later determined that the O-rings, the rubber seals that kept hot gases inside the rocket booster, had become stiff due to the cold weather and caused a fuel leak. For over 2 years, the agency stopped sending astronauts into space as it redesigned several of its shuttle features. It also made changes to its management structure to improve future decision-making. It wasn't until 2003 when the shuttle program would face another catastrophe on the Columbia spacecraft. The 7 astronauts on Columbia made it to space just fine, but during the launch, it looked like a piece of foam insulation had broken off. The mission continued despite concerns from some engineers. On February 1st, minutes before Columbia was scheduled to land, NASA lost contact with the crew.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check.
It turned out the foam had punctured a hole in the left wing, ultimately destroying the shuttle upon re-entry. The shuttle program was grounded until 2005, and the fuel tank was redesigned without the foam piece. Now NASA is embarking on its Artemis mission to return astronauts to the moon and eventually Mars. The agency plans to conduct regular missions to the moon to establish a base camp and use that research to inform future missions to Mars. And in the process, NASA says astronaut safety is top of mind.
Safety is our responsibility. Every day at NASA, we have an opportunity, we have a duty to carry the memories of those that we lost and carry their dreams onward and upward.
And that does it for us. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow. For now, tonight, I'm Yamiche Alcindor. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.